Okay, so I have a friend who's finding herself setting up a home office and trying to kind of starting from scratch in some ways, but wanting to make it something that is great as, content creation, but also for, commercial work. To be able to really do anything in your home office. And I think a lot of us really be thinking about our spaces in that way. And so I have spent years dialing in this space. I mean, I've raided the, studio gear room more times than I should probably say to build up this space and just create something that is what I hope, a pinnacle of efficiency that allows me to, record a webinar or build a course or do a podcast or do a very high quality client meeting or make a pitch video very, very quickly from conception to creation to delivery in minutes, right? So let me walk you through that. Now, first of all, we have to start with the fundamentals. When you're talking about a home office and how you're going to set up, we have to start with the fundamentals, and that's going to be your pipe. That's going to be the angle at which you set up your camera and your desk and then your backdrop. And so here in my office, it's not a large space at all. What you'll see is I've got the camera right in front of me, so we'll turn around here and show you the camera. So I've got the camera here, and it's pretty much up against the wall. I'm just stretching up the wall as much as I can, but then here behind me is just this clean wall. Now, I have it composed so that you don't see the, ceiling or anything else around there. Now, this wall didn't come like this. I actually had, it was, this stucco pattern before. I got wallpaper first, but then this is actually just like a flooring and a wall material that I found online. It's quite affordable. I think it was about $1,000 for the whole wall. Had somebody on Upwork come and install it. Took less than a day, but it adds so much texture. You can get a whole bunch of different patterns, but really, paying attention to this back material is going to be huge so that you have that look and that it feels like your own space. Now, another big part of the fundamentals then is how you control light. And so here, what I have are, these are just simple IKEA fold blinds, right? Like, no big deal. But every single light in this room has two kinds. So I can go up and down to control how much ambient I want in, but then I can also, you'll see over here, switch to diffusion. Just giving me crazy amounts of control. Like if I was to make a course and need to record for 5-6 hours, I can do that. If I want to record something dramatic in the middle of the day, I can do that. So I have full control over the lighting to be able to create any kind of look and feel at any point of the day. Now, you may have noticed that I have some pretty fancy lights in here. We'll talk about that in a second. But let's go to the kind of the core of all of this, which is the camera and the computer setup. And so here, I'll turn around, and I have the Sony FX3 with a DesView T3 monitor and a Feel World DesView T3 prompter, and then a Feel World monitor. Now you do not need an FX3. However, what is nice is the full frame sensor. Smaller space means more depth of field. You also do not need to get like the best prime out there. I've just got a 35-1.4. Lots of manufacturers will make like 1.2, that sort of thing. If you get one back from the best, you can save a bit of money, but better than a kit lens that could be a 4 or 5.6, which in a small space, you're not going to get a lot of depth. So full frame sensor, prime lens, and it means that I'm going to get some nice shallow depth of field here. And then I've got, the monitor swiveled back, and then this is just a Slik tripod arm that mounts right to my desk. So I've got this one little appendage that just holds the entire camera setup. You can see this monitor is like $100. It comes with power that is going into my Mac Studio. So I can just run that. This is just an external monitor. So I can throw Zoom on here. I can throw a prompter on here. I can throw anything that I want. And then I'm talking directly to you as the audience, which makes it great. And then over here, I can see all of my camera controls and I can dial it in. So that's kind of the core. I can, because this is a ball head, I can flip this on 90 degrees if I wanted to do a vertical shot. And I've got some height adjustments. So you can move it around. You can move it around and it gives you quite a bit of variability, but that's kind of the base, right? I've got a solid angle, and when I sit down here, now, you can imagine, and I'll even just put you down here, and cut to this angle for a second so you can see what the computer actually records is really quite nice. Now, that's just kind of the fundamentals. We made sure that we can modify the light, and we have a solid pipe with a really, kind of good core camera setup that allows for the kinds of content we would want to make. But now we also want to talk about like lighting and how do we create different looks. To start, you can just do something simple like this, which is, just putting a nice big softbox close, because softness of light is related to its apparent size, so when it's closer, it's softer. I've got a grid because it's a small room, so I don't want it spilling everywhere. So this is just right above my desk. But then what I've done is I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lights around me, and they're all on this remote. So what I can do is, obviously, I can just turn this on or off, but I can also, change the color if I wanted to switch to a different feeling, which I'm usually daylight for the key. This is more relevant for other things. But I've got this other light up here, and granted, this one's a little overkill, but it's cool. So let me show you, okay? Play along, play along. So number 5 here is it's a Forza 60 with the projector on it. So then I can put little shapes in it, right? So watch what happens when I turn this sucker on. Look what it does. It gives me this pattern, right? And I can shape that exactly where I want. And again, I can change the color of that if I want to like really warm it up. So I can do a whole bunch of things with that projector, and it's just super tiny, and it really gives a lot of life, as if you had light flying in the window. Now, say I'm not feeling that, I can turn that off. That's when I come over to this beast of a setup, which is number 2. And number 2 is another Forza right here with a mirror. And this is not an expensive light. It's $150 or something like that. It's got the fresnel to then focus the light into the mirrors, and then these mirrors are just doing a whole bunch of different work for me. So I'll turn that on, and basically I've got them pointed, so like one's going to hit the poster, one's going to hit the center of the wall, and one's going to hit the gramophone. And so let me show you here. You can kind of see what it's doing to the wall overall, and I'll show you on the main angle here in a second. But watch when I turn it off, right? It's quite flat, and you turn it on, you're just getting these, hits across, and then of course I could adjust the mirror. So let me come back down here, and now I can show you what that looks like here, right? And so you can see exactly how I could do something just like this into camera, and now I've got a nice backdrop. And if I wanted to, I could then add number 5 and dim that in to be exactly what I wanted to really kind of give me that look. And I am not loving how cool that is. There we go. That's feeling a little bit better. But right, how much control I have in seconds to be able to kind of dial things in. Now, almost done there. This is kind of more of a daytime sort of look. And you might want to do something completely different. And so I definitely wanted to make sure that it had a lot of options. So let's just take 5 off. Let's take 2 off. And then what we have on the floor here is this tube. And when we turn the tube on, now what we can start doing is get into the HSI mode, and we can get some color, right? So now we can really start bringing in color if we wanted. And this is where number 5 actually comes in as well, which I've got one more light hidden right in here, which is my edge light. So if I wanted to, I could turn that one on as well, and then also turn it on to whatever color I might want, right? So now if you wanted to do the, teal magenta kind of look, I can get that going nice and quick. And you can see that I can create a pretty strong look. I mean, a little too strong there on the saturation, but you can really just gonna bring that down just a bit. But like wild, right? How quickly I can just move through all of this and see exactly what I'm doing, and then dial in exactly what I want. And so we get a completely different look in seconds. So that's the lighting. I've got 1, 2, 3, 5 lights all the way around, all with a different purpose, and then together I can, very quickly dial in exactly what I want, which if I'm doing a webinar or a podcast, it's different than a course. And if a course is for like AI masterclass, I might have more fun with the colors. But if I was doing like a pitch video, I want that to look different than if I'm showing up, to the same client doing a Zoom call, right? Like I want to be able to have that flexibility, especially, as my rates go up and that kind of thing. It does help to be able to create different looks that match what I'm doing, especially when I'm selling myself on intentionality and being a filmmaker. I want everything to look intentional and strong and cinematic. So that's how I've designed all of this. Now, you notice this big mic in my face here. This is just a regular Rode podcast mic. But the thing that I really love, when I turn you around here, is this Elgato low profile arm, because what it allows me to do is speak, and you don't have to see the mic in the frame, or you can just put it at the edge of the frame. But I can actually do recordings. I can do recordings and have this outside of the frame and still get good audio, kind of like this. This is a wider angle, but you can see here, you don't even see the mic, and I can get great recordings. So lots of options there. Love the low profile arm as opposed to something coming in here. It stays out of the way. It swings out of the way when I don't need it, and it can just sit over there. Okay, so that's our camera. That's our audio. And that's largely, the lighting. I've used a lot of Nanlight stuff. You can use other brands. The reason I like it is, one, it's quite affordable, especially if you catch a sale at B&H, and then two, everything just goes on this remote. They've been very reliable for me, and I just like the price points that I can get this whole room up. Some of you are going to think I'm crazy that I spent several $1,000s in lights for my office, but hey, one $50,000 pitch that is closed like that, and it's paid itself off. And we've had many that are like that or larger. And is it the lighting in my office that did it? No, but it is the composite of how I showed up and how I delivered and every single step. And that's what I'm creating, right? I really am investing in my ability to create at that level quickly. So a couple more pieces over here then. We have the Rodecaster Duo. I used to have the larger one. Love this one because it's a little bit smaller. Nothing too crazy here. It does very good vocal processing. I can record directly, so if I wanted to do like a backup for a webinar or a Zoom call in high quality, I can do sound effects if I wanted. Not something that you need to use often, but hey, if you're doing a podcast, and if you want to bust it out on a webinar or something, you can. I've got the SanDisk. I don't even know what this thing's called, but it's just a large dock. But again, efficiency, I can basically download any of my media, just plug them all in, everything's downloaded, and then I've got the G-Raid here. I've got a few of these, but really it's just all optimized for speed. So I can plug in all my media here, I can back up everything to a RAID 5, and then down here is where all the little secrets are. Or no, sorry, this is a Blackmagic Ultra Studio Mini 4K, I believe is what it's called. This unit here, though, is what allows me to record in ProRes at 4K. So huge if you want to do a deliverable. Like if I'm doing something for a client, I can do 4K ProRes in terms of like a pitch video, or if I want to do course material or anything else, right? So that's huge. Now, that can be glitchy sometimes when you want to do other things related to just making social videos or Zoom calls, stuff like that. So that's where this comes in, which you could use a cheap converter as well, like an HDMI converter. But I'm just got the ATEM Mini Pro, and so basically the camera comes out and then splits into both. And so if I can roll in 4K, or I can just do a webcam. So I can show up on Zoom with a webcam, or I can switch to this. And what's cool is I can do both. So I can pull the feed and record my, if I do and I've done this, where I will do a live webinar on Zoom, pulling from the web feed, while getting a 4K backup with perfect wave audio of the entire thing, which then I can reuse to turn into a course or other materials down the road, right? So all of this just maximized for efficiency and being able to create whatever it is you want. So there you go. That's the tour. A couple other small things that I love as we wrap out here. One is my Artifox desk. These are a little expensive, but they're just so gorgeous in how they're made. And then they have this slot here where you can put your phone, put your iPad, and then I have the little tablet that comes with it that you can draw on, little mini whiteboard so I can keep notes for the day. I don't know who the heck makes this thing, but this is an actual magnet for my iPad. So I can actually bring my iPad right out here if I wanted to draw or if I wanted notes while I was, say, doing an interview, giving me the option to, run something from this computer while I'm talking to somebody here and then have any references that I want over here. So it just gives you that extra screen. And then really, my favorite thing of all is this Bang & Olufsen floor speaker, which is very, very loud. And so when you got a long day and you got a lot of meetings, oh my, does that sucker keep me going. Highly recommended. It's gorgeous and it just gets you moving. So that is the full home tour. You can get pretty much everything here on B&H. I do not have time to put all of the links for you in this video, unfortunately, but maybe some of you in the community, as you find things, you can put it in the comments so that other people can find them. Again, a little bit of an investment, but start small. You get a couple lights on a remote and you start like making more systems and processes. And I'll leave you with one last thing that because I made this mistake for years, and that was having things do double duty. As in, okay, well, I don't want to have two cameras or it's too expensive, so like I'll use it here, I'll use the lights here, and then I'll go out and I'll also bring them in the field. I did that forever because it was cheap. I was like, it makes more sense, right? I can just reuse it. The moment I said no more, this is my studio stuff, it doesn't go anywhere else, my efficiency went up fivefold because it meant no matter when, I could just sit down and record anything. Like I could go from now and have a pitch video ready to ship in 10 minutes because everything's ready. So as you think about how you're building this out, I highly, highly suggest that you consider how you can invest in creating things that don't need to leave so you can always make as quickly as possible. Because when you reduce that friction, all of a sudden the ability to create the remarkable becomes a lot easier, and you find yourself going further and further because you've reduced so much friction, because you've made it so easy. It's easier for me to make you a welcome video than it is for me to write something and design a PDF. Well, guess what? I'm going to make you a killer video, right? That's what we want to do. We want to remove all the barriers. We want to optimize to make this as easy as we possibly can. And so with that, I hope you've enjoyed the tour. If you have any questions, let me know. And happy building.